Welcome to M and M. I am the Michael in the M.
And I'm the Michele in the M.
And we are here again to talk to you about men and women.
Men and women.
Today, the issue is trust issues. Let me just go ahead and just get right. Let me ask for all the smoke, as they say. My presupposition is this. There is no such thing as trust issues. You don't have trust issues. You have forgiveness issues. But I believe the reason why we say trust issues is because you don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to do anything. Anytime you say you have a forgiveness issue, I don't care who you are. Anybody who hears that, they know you got some bitterness in your heart. You need to forgive. So people don't ever say that. So they cloak it with, I have trust issues. Because that sounds kind of virtuous. And nowadays, there's all this virtue in being a victim nowadays. As long as you can, I have trust issues. You need to be sensitive with me. And I think we can all have areas where we struggle with trust. But underneath that trust issue, I've learned from my own personal life is there's frozen anger, there's bitterness, there's attitudes. And there's things that make me prejudge the person, the situation, and not want to be hurt again. Mm-hmm. So I'm bitter about the injury. And I haven't learned anything. I haven't gotten anything out of it. So I'm like, hey, don't do that to me again. I don't know if I can trust you simply because I didn't forgive the last person that let me down, hurt me, or whatever. And now I'm just going to walk around in jail, emotional jail. Just like, it's like you got to get out of jail. That's the great thing about the Bible. It's like your get out of jail free card. You get out of jail. You don't have to be in the prison of your mind, afraid of everybody. We got black folks. Oh, I don't know, white people. They've hurt me and they're in jail. I have trust issues. And you got women. I got trust issues. And so I just think, I think we got to be honest and say we have forgiveness issues. I don't know. What do you think, babe?
Yeah, that's good. I think, for someone that definitely has forgiveness issues, trust issues, saying I have trust issues definitely sounds a lot better, a little bit more smoother, what's the word, politically correct. And I never actually related trust and forgiveness together. I never realized that not forgiving someone led to major trust issues.
And I think what's powerful about what you just said is this is where we both are in the same. We both felt the same way, and it's one of the reasons why we got together. That's why you have to read the Bible, because you find this stuff in the Bible, you're like, oh my goodness. The Bible says that Jesus was killed, and when they hurled their insults at him, he did not retaliate. Instead, he trusted himself. If that was me, I would be bitter as gall. You're hurling your insults at me.
I'll hurl them back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's awesome is how the Bible is shedding light on issues that people in the world just, that don't really have a relationship with God. They're like, I don't know what's going on. Why can't I trust men? Well, because you've been hurt by men and you haven't forgiven men. But you're not going to learn that if you don't read the Bible, especially if you're just online listening to everyone's opinion.
Right. Why should we? What's the big deal of forgiveness? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the
in
stuff
the world. It's like, I'm not going to forgive you, man. You hurt me. I'm not going to give you my love back.
In fact, if you don't open the Bible, people will tell you, you have the right to be angry.
Exactly.
You have the right to be bitter. I am and I think this hurts men and women.
I definitely can take it into marriage. I definitely have.
Yeah.
Growing up with childhood issues where, we should be taught, the dads should protect,
leadership,
lead, love the family. My dad had definitely fell short in that area, and I think I took matters into my own hands and said, I actually grew up, sadly, I hate to say this, but I did hate my dad for a lot. I did not forgive him for what he did. And then, thank goodness for God coming into my life. That helped.
But how did that hurt your relationship with God, with your issue with your dad, your trust, the injury there? What did that do to you and God?
Didn't trust God, I guess.
Bang.
I felt like God was mad at me.
Right.
I couldn't ever, what's the word, ever perform enough or be good enough for God to accept me into his love. But I had a very sort of disconnected view of God. It was kind of a traditional Christian view of God. But when I actually connected with Jesus, that broke my heart because I thought, wow, Jesus really loves me and can relate. and came down to relate.
See, but that's the part right there. Can relate. Everybody's looking for someone who can relate. I think that's the world. Women have their injuries and they know other women have injuries, so they go to other women and they, oh, you can relate. And sure, you can relate, but how do you get me out of this hole? You know, how do you get me out of this pain? How do you get me to trust again? And what I'm seeing,
which is, how do you get me to forgive?
Exactly. That's why it's not trust. You don't have trust issues. You got some forgiveness issues. There's something that you haven't forgiven. You have not accepted the sovereignty of God. So
you're good at, actually.
Well, I don't know.
Your life story, you really forgave a lot of people.
Yeah, it was difficult. I was, you know, you're if you're watching this show, you're looking at somebody who was homeless at 14 years old. Never knew who my father was. Just had to figure it out. I had a couple of options, either stay bitter or get better. And I decided, I saw what bitterness did. I saw what it did to my family. I saw what it did to other people. I said, I'm just going to get better. Somewhere in this pain, there's got to be a purpose. And that's kind of the thrust of the book I'm writing called Tears. So the human body creates 3 types of tears. One tear is the tear that lubricates your eye. The second tear is a tear if you get something in your eye. The third tear is a tear from weeping. And so in Hebrews 5, it says that Jesus cried out with loud cries and tears. And in that tear, there's a chemical called leucine enkephalin. It's literally the human body's chemical to heal the human heart, which stops cancer and other disease. So people who don't cry are literally damaging their heart. And that's what I was doing. I wasn't crying. I didn't want to cry. I wanted to be tough. Oh, I'm a black man. I can't do that. So I didn't want to cry.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I cried about being abandoned. I cried about not having it. I cried.
Come on.
Once I cried, I didn't know why I felt better. So why do I feel better? And then I studied it out and I realized tears are God's painkiller.
Wow.
And many people who have not forgiven, who don't trust, you just simply need to cry. You need to accept the pain, whatever has happened. And that's another thing. People are like, oh, how do you get over this injury? It's not about getting over it. It's about accepting it.
Totally.
You know, it's like Jesus is like, are we going to get over the cross? Oh, I got over it. No, we have to continually accept that tragic thing that was done to him for our sin. So I think for me, I had to, what helped me to be trusting is acceptance.
Which actually, I would say, well, after you just shared that, which is beautiful actually, that God, you know, how he makes our bodies to be able to give off chemicals that could potentially kill us through tears and different things in our bodies, that he has given us ability to get rid of stress and pain and cancer-causing chemicals. But I was going to say, I think one thing I really love about you is that you cry a lot when you pray.
Trying to break me down, baby.
No, you do. You have a soft heart. And
Get me in my feelings here.
I was going to say,
YouTube.
No, okay. So I don't want to lose track of my thoughts, but basically what you're saying is we have to, in order to forgive and therefore trust, we have to be willing to go through the pain. We have to be willing to feel.
Yep.
We have to be willing to feel why we're ticked off and not trusting and allow our hearts to get so soft enough to cry. And so I would argue that unless you are willing to cry, because I know for me, I'm not a natural crier, but when I do cry, why don't we like to cry? Because we don't want to feel pain. When we cry, that's a guarantee we're going to a really painful place. We have to cry, you know, or the opposite of that is hardening our hearts.
Exactly.
Right? Which leads to sin, the Bible says, and leads to unforgiveness. And I think you're right. I think the key to trust is to cry, and that will get you to that point to forgive. Yeah,
and that's what I want to, that's the purpose of the book. That's why it's simply called Tears.
Yeah, I love it.
Because there are so many people with trust issues. And when you think about the purpose of pain, and you think about on a kind of a smaller scale, you got people getting tattoos nowadays. It's obviously painful. But once you get the tattoo, you know what you're getting. You know why you're getting it. You know what kind of pain it is. You know how long it's going to last. And you know the purpose of this injury that you're going to feel on your arm. You're in control of the pain, and you know. And so, hey, the purpose of this pain is this tattoo. So we understand the purpose of the pain. We understand that we're going to go to the gym. It's going to hurt, but we're going to get in shape. But when we don't understand the purpose of abandonment, of abuse, sexual abuse. Why did I get abused? Why did my dad leave me? Why were my parents racist? When we don't understand and we're not in control of this injury that happens to us, and we don't know, like, why did God allow this? That's when we get hurt and we blame God instead of asking God for answers in the pain. And that's what I want to write about. And I want to talk about why God allows suffering and why he allows good and bad. I think the first thing I'm going to talk about, one of the first things in the book I want to talk about is the fact that a lot of pain is self-inflicted. No one wants to talk about their own, like, oh, why am I suffering? You're suffering because you're in sin. You get your own sins. In relationships, a lot of issues, a lot of trust issues have nothing to do with the person you're with. They're your own issues you bring into. I always talk, relationships are like an airplane flight. You bring your bags. You got some extra bags. Yep. I got some extra bags. Can I check these bags? I got some trust issue bags. Can I check them on the flight of this marriage right here? And so we got to really be able to reconcile that. And I think I had issues. I think your empathy.
I have a lot of issues too.
Well, but your empathy, your kindness, your understanding of me helped me to heal. I think we heal each other.
Yeah. Definitely.
We cried a lot.
And that's why it's really important to stay the long haul. We were just talking about today about marriages, how quickly, especially in celebrity marriages, Hollywood marriages, it's really sad. People last about 5 or 6 years and then they break up and they don't go through that pain.
No, they don't.
They need to go cry. They need to forgive.
Yeah.
They need to trust again.
Yeah.
And then they actually get the long-term healing that God so much desires from people.
And not only they get the healing, they can heal others. They can get into the hole. They can get into for a military term, get into the bunker with you down in the dirt and help you to come out of the hole. Oh, you've been depressed? Oh, you want to give up? Oh, you want to get married, a divorce? Let's get down in the hole. Let me help you to come out of it. I've been there too. And I think this is very, very, very important nowadays because everyone wants to download the application. Like, where can I download the application to an awesome guy? Let me swipe right instead of do right.
Or even download awesome guy, awesome marriage,
awesome woman,
kids.
IG model, which is really an insecure girl. So she's got her lip and Botox, and maybe this is going to get me the love I want. Right. Maybe that's what I'm looking for as a guy, and it's just a disconnect. It's not real. Our marriage, there was a lot of trust issues that we both had, and we didn't take the elevator.
Right. And what's so funny, sometimes God puts you with people too that can bring out and put you in a place of vulnerability. Like, for example, you grew up where you were abandoned.
Yep.
And actually my sin is adultery in the past, abandoning people. I was very quick to go in and out of relationships. And then my big thing is just fidelity as well, I think, in my marriage, with growing up with a dad that cheated and was very strong, wanted submission, but abused submission. And I think on the flip side in our marriage, I think you're a very strong leader, which can bring trust issues because you will not let me lead you, which is biblical. But that's what I wanted because I didn't want a man like my dad who was very strong, but led in an abusive way. So my go-to is, you're leading. Oh, you're going to abuse me or you're going to hurt me. Is this going to end up good? And it's been great because instead of trying to control you and give in to my trauma, I have to trust God. And I have to just continue to just trust the process. And it's really, that's what I'm trying to say. Marriage is a process. And if you stick it out, it's beautiful. You heal. You both heal. And so many of us, and many times us too, we've just been like, okay, we can't do this anymore. This is too hard. We get to these junctures. In marriage, you get stuck. That baggage gets too heavy.
The bags, you go, can't check these bags.
Right.
You can't check these bags.
There's no carry on.
You just carry on this flight,
Wow, airlines.
Exactly. Wow, airlines, So, but the issue is like, now where do you go? And
right.
So when you have a relationship with God, you have truth. You can go to the answers. You can get Bible answers that are real. You don't just get a YouTube guy up there telling you some quick 5 things to heal your relationship, whatever. You get the Bible.
Right.
And I think that's really what helped me to see that although you had your challenges, They were exposing an idolatry I had in my heart.
Right.
An idolatry of the ideal relationship where I was going to be so respected and loved and no one's ever going to not be there for me because of my past issues.
Right.
And I had to learn that God allowed those things to help me to realize that I can always cast my anxiety on him. He's going to be there for me, and not to put such high expectations on you and on people, and to trust God.
Right.
So trust issues are forgiveness issues. Right. If you got trust issues, you got to forgive. You got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive other people. Mm-hmm. And if you forgive and you cry, you will feel better and you will get better, not bitter.
Amen. And I was just going to finish up with that, just that thought too, that forgiveness is not a feeling. I think this is something that really helped me.
Good point.
Yes, really helped me forgive. Forgiveness is a decision.
That's right.
And when we decide to forgive, and it's something sometimes we have to do every day, because sometimes those feelings of unforgiveness want to come up, right? You're just like, what? You just did it again. But we decide to forgive, and that's really different. And I think when we can make conscious decisions, ultimately because God forgave us, and all sin is equal at the foot of the cross, right? We can decide to forgive and be set free.
Stay tuned for the next episode, guys. We will be back with M talking about men and women and how to have an awesome relationship with one another. We love you, and to God be all the glory.
So if you like what you see today and you want more, please like and subscribe down below. Thank you.